If you haven't seen the past 2 videos in this little mini-series, I've been going through the different damage types and giving them new supers, new aspects, new melees, all that fun stuff. So if you're interested, go check out my videos on Void and Solar. Of course, after you finish watching this one. So starting off with, I think we need to address Arc itself because it's just not quite there. So starting off, I like Amplified. It's fine. You know, it's always up and it gives you some minor boosts to help you out. But what if we had another defensive buff? But this defensive buff keyword isn't just damage resistance in another color. It's going to be a dodge chance. If you've ever played Payday 2, you could either build as a tank, so you're heavily armored and you take less damage. Or you could do a dodge build where you have no armor, you run fast, deal a lot of damage, and you have a small health bar and you could die easily, but you just dodge bullets. And this idea is partially being spurred on by a commenter on my Void Abilities video. They said have an effect on combatants where they just have worse aim against you. But I think instead of them having worse aim, let's just have it give you a chance of not getting hit by precision weapons. So that, like, more explosive type things are still going to work fine against you. It's just like wire rifles, line rifles, the scarier things in GM level stuff. They just have a chance to not hit you. And in PvP against players, it reduces bullet magnetism and like crosshair stickiness. Just a little bit. But, you know, we could call this like an arc magnetic field. And you can have up to like 10 stacks if you have a fragment with it. It has the max potential to give 10 to 15% chance to just not take damage. So if you're in a GM and you have 15% dodge chance, if there's 6 or 7 snipers that shoot you, statistically, one of those will miss. But because you don't have the massive damage resistance of something like Woven Mail, you're still going to die to 1 or 2 shots. It's just, you know, you have a chance to not. I just think that's a interesting way to give Arc another way to interact and buff itself and your allies, while not just being, you take less damage, but we recolored it. Anyways, before we get into our 3 classes and all their stuff that I dreamt up, I want to talk to you about my good friends at Advanced GG. I've personally been using Advanced GG products for years, whether it's the energy, focus, or hydration. I've used all of them for years, and their ice shakers and normal shakers. They're great products. I've been using them for years. I love them, and they pay me money now. But, you know, I always highly suggest the guava berry. It's one of my favorites. A lot of the sour stuff is good, too, like Rainbow Burst, Gummy Worm, both got sours. If you're at all interested, check out the pinned comment down below. Should also be in the description. I should have a link for Advanced GG. If you use that link and my code Spycer10, you get 10% off, and I get money. Anyways, let's get on to the actual video. Moving on, starting with Titan, we got a brand new super. I'm going to call it something like, I don't know, Seismic Clap. Basically, it's a Fist of Havoc, but instead of the shoulder charge light attack, you can instead hold the light attack button to charge your hands with arc energy. As you hold light attack, you charge a meter that determines how much damage the clap will deal, as it sends a focus lightning bolt in front of you. The longer you charge, the more bolts and more damage they deal. This could make a new single target damage super for Titan that is functionally unique and very flavorful to the Striker Titan. And you would have the ability to also slam with it, like, you know, the good old D1 slam as the roaming super. In theory, this super would probably be the highest damage super in the game when it hits, but because of that charge up time, you put yourself in harm's way, so barricades become incredibly useful, rifts, anything to help keep you alive as you're charging this up that your teammates can throw on you will hugely benefit everyone, because this is going to be a massive burst of damage. Anyways, moving on to this new Titan aspect, Aftershocks. Arc abilities trigger an arc pulse on hit and on kill. With an arc buff active, whenever you reload, you release an arc pulse around you. Sweet and simple. You can further focus on buffing your grenades in Striker, or you can make something like Thunderclap do way more damage on hit, while also being able to play super aggressive and get enemies out from around you. I'm just realizing now that the second half of this aspect is actually just Electric Cherry from Black Ops Zombies. So, yeah, if that helps you visualize it any. Moving on to Hunter, I think starting off, change the buff on Ascension from Amplified to the new buff that we came up with in this video. Then, moving on, as a melee, we got the T. It's just, basic kickboxing move. You basically just kick an enemy. It does some pretty okay damage. It's pretty decent. But you ready your weapon after melee faster, and final blows increase your reload speed greatly. Because, you're not using your hands for this melee, you're just kicking. So you'll get, your hands free so you can go back to shooting things faster. You could change out the final blows increase reload speed to either final blows reload all your weapons, or hits reload your equipped weapon, final blows reload all weapons. Something, because honestly this isn't sounding that spectacular. I just think adding some kicks into our movesets would be cool, especially for like a subclass like Arcstrider, where it very much fits. Because I already have 3 supers, 4 aspects, we just set our new melee. Let's move on to the new class ability that Arc Hunters would get. Calling it something like Reflexive Dodge. It would have the longest cooldown probably of any Hunter dodge. It gives you iframes, which is a little scary because Arc-Seth gives you the ability to dodge a lot. But, it's just 1 to 2 iframes. You're playing Dark Souls now, okay? You get some sick dodges to just not take damage. I think it's pretty fitting, especially for Arcstrider. So, thoughts? Moving on now to the Warlock, who needs the most holes filled. Hold on a minute, phrasing. All right. Starting off with the super, calling this something like Cry of the Arcborn. So, basically, the idea of this is Arc Warlock, the Stormcaller. The supers feature Force Lightning or Wave, so there's those 2 things, but somehow the Arc Soul is what captures everyone's attention. That combined with the Lucent Moths of the Lucent Hive, and especially in Ghosts of the Deep, it's pretty important that we have little guys on Arc. Just some little guys. So this new super, you're going to give you and all nearby allies Arc Souls. Then you're going to create 5 Arcborn that will fly at the enemies that you damage. And they will deal extra damage to them. Some of them will jolt, some of them will blind. Maybe all will do one or the other. Not really sure how to balance out those keywords in this, but I think applying both is fine, because this isn't going to be like a super massive damage super. It's just kind of like a quick, everyone gets an Arc Soul, and on top of that, you get a little bit bonus damage and some keywords thrown out. This is going to have a tier 5 cooldown, super fast. It's just really quick, super, extra damage, and then you're going to get your super back pretty quick. For an aspect, we're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on ionic traces. They are a super important part of Stormcaller and have been since Forsaken. So, picking up an ionic trace grants you a small amount of health. Picking up an ionic trace lets you reload faster for a short duration, and that goes up to 5 stacks. This is increasing survivability on Arc Warlock. Survivability is a big gap in the Arc subclasses. Well, especially Arc Warlock doesn't have that many options for it, it feels like. But that faster reload just fits Arc, you know. So this is just like a small little stat buff. So this might be like a 3 fragment slot aspect, and they might have to tack something on later. But I think ionic traces giving health, especially on Arc Warlock, that could probably get a little nuts. So it seems small and like it doesn't do much on paper, but at the same time, healing on ionic traces is kind of crazy. Anyways, moving on. Brand new Arc melee, blinding bolt, something like that. Blinding flash, maybe? But in a small cone in front of you, enemies are blinded. Like you put your hands together and a bright light emerges from them. Enemies are blinded and they take more melee damage for a short duration. If you're amplified, the cone is larger. And you get 2 charges of it with sort of a long cooldown on them. But that way you can flash, get a couple punches in, flash another enemy, get a couple punches in. This would work well in like Winter's Guile builds, maybe Fellwinter's Helm builds. Some exotics that aren't like super well loved on the Warlock, giving them a melee that buffs melee damage might really help them out. Then to round this all out, new class ability, a Conductive Rift. Cast a rift that gives you and allies a speed boost, faster reload speed, and better handling when you pass through. So you could walk through it, and you're going to keep those buffs for a short duration. Or you could stand in it and keep those reload speed and handling buffs. This kind of steps on the toes of Rally Barricade, but, you know, you're not sitting behind a barricade. And it's not going to be as good as, like, I don't know, Bastion Rally Barricades. This would be pretty good as a Arc Soul distributor. You know, you slap it down, people can come through, grab their Arc Soul, run out. They run faster, reload faster, and have better handling. So Arc Souls, which are mostly for, you know, just dealing a little bit extra damage, squeezing in a little extra damage. You're also going to be reloading faster. So it's just a little tiny buff to help you go along. This would probably, honestly, be probably the same cooldown as like normal rifts. It probably wouldn't get any benefits from Lunafactions in any way. So there's that. Anyways, that's about it for my Arc concepts video. It'll probably be a couple weeks before I do Stasis. A lot to go over there. Got to make 2 new supers for every subclass, 2 new melees, class ability. And I'm going to throw in 3 new grenades. I'm going to do the same thing for Strand. Those may take a little longer. I do have some stuff coming up, though. Like I will have a lore video for Crow coming out very soon. Working on that currently. And a couple other projects coming down the pipeline. So bear with me. Yeah. So if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all that junk. Maybe even join. If you have any ideas for abilities, drop them down below. Check out my Discord server. Trying to get things up and running there. Check out Advanced GG. You know, they give me money if you give them money. Sorry, that sounds terrible. I really do enjoy their products. You can even go back through a bunch of my old VODs. Like when I was doing Solo Duality, this was like half a year before I even was approached, or before I approached Advanced GG. And yeah, I was talking about it then. Like, I have used these products for years. I can attest that I personally love them. So yeah, go check them out if you got the money. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. See you next time.